and I now recognize Ms. Titus.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to the witness. You know, through the course of this hearing, we've had some members say we need more diplomatic relations. Some say we need less. Some say we should never talk to the Taliban. Some say we need to bring hostages home. One thing we do know for sure is we don't have relations now, and as we have created this vacuum, China has moved in. So we've heard about the impact on the region. I don't think you do much study of that, or the impact on Pakistan, but let's talk about China. We have left this vacuum. China's moved in. They've sent an ambassador to Afghanistan. Could you talk about how our lack of diplomatic relations gives us an opportunity to China, and what might be the result of Afghanistan joining in the Silk Road, Belt and Road initiative?
I wish I could. We have not looked at that, so I would just be repeating anecdotal information we've heard. We haven't done an audit on that. China was always interested in Afghanistan. I assumed with the Taliban takeover, they continued that interest, and we are hearing anecdotally that they're involved in, particularly with extractives, but we have not looked into it, and we cannot document why all of a sudden. But they've always been interested in extractives in even under the prior regime in Afghanistan.
Well, could you comment on how you foresee the return of our diplomats to the country, and what are the risks of not going back, or some of the advantages of going back?
Again, ma'am, I have not looked at that. There are obviously risks. The decision of sending diplomats there is a decision that really is a policy decision beyond my pay grade. That is a decision made by the administration or Congress to recognize, and I think basically the President is the only one who can recognize another country, I believe. So, you know, I can't really tell you what are the decision points on that. So,
well, if you haven't studied that, and it's not your pay grade, and you can't get information from the State Department, what is it that your office does and should continue doing?
well, we are trying to find out. We're doing audits and investigations on theft or diversion of funds. We are trying to come up with recommendations on how to do a better job in a country like Afghanistan where we don't recognize the host government.
Would you share with us some of those recommendations?
We will. We'll actually give the report. We're not done yet. I started to talk about some of our preliminary recommendations. One is to use the international organizations less until you can get better oversight from the various international organizations. I referred to a 1945 statute that created them, which basically cuts back the amount of oversight that any U.S. government agency, including my office, can do. So that's one thing.
I don't usually think of the World Bank, which you mentioned earlier, as an NGO. I mean, that's not exactly what you think of as NGOs, but are there any NGOs that are effective on the ground outside of that financial world?
There are some NGOs that are doing work in Afghanistan that are doing good work. The problem with the international organizations like the World Bank and the UN is they are not actually doing the work. They're basically just another layer. They subcontract to others to do the work. Some are Afghan NGOs and some are international NGOs. And that's another problem. You got multiple layers, multiple expense because of multiple administrations. So we're saying that's one thing you should look at. And there's a number of other recommendations that we're happy to share once we finish our report.
And when will that be?
Well, we're hoping in the near term, in the next few months. Some of the staff is here. It'll be a few months before that's done.
And have you been to Afghanistan? Do you have people on the ground there?
Oh gosh, no. There's no Americans on the ground in Afghanistan. I used to travel.
Well, we know one is in prison.
That's the problem. That's why we're not there. I used to travel all the time to Afghanistan. We used to have dozens, I think we were up to about 50 people at one time in Afghanistan in the old days. But nobody, nobody from the embassy, nobody from any U.S. government agencies are in Afghanistan right now.
And so most of your information is secondary, hearsay, diaspora?
Diaspora, secondary, we're interviewing UN officials, we're interviewing World Bank officials, we're interviewing NGO officials. We've actually done, we do have some independent civil society organizations that we're working with in Afghanistan that are providing us information. We do get documents. And although we can't subpoena the State Department to get documents, we do have subpoena authority over corporations or NGOs that are working there. So we get documents that way. We also get material by talking to other countries that are working there. So we have a large, swath of information that we're getting. We're not getting the internal contract documents and materials that we would normally get from the State Department.
Yeah, I
and
heard
that's
that
the problem.
earlier.
That your time has expired. Thank